So some people go to the gym for years and years, and yet they don't get stronger and they don't build any muscle. Why? Because they're not training correctly for strength or for building muscle. And I've seen this time and time again in the gym. And you might be in this exact predicament right now where you've been going to the gym for months and months, you're not seeing any changes, or maybe you're just starting your gym journey right now and you want to make sure you do it the right way. Well, it's your lucky day, because in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why you're not getting stronger, why you're not building muscle, and exactly how to fix it. To explain this to you guys in an easy to understand way, I'm going to tell you a story about a gentleman that used to go to one of the gyms that I managed many moons ago, and his name was Joe, and he really wanted to get a 315 pound bench press. And for those of you that maybe aren't aware of what that looks like, it's 3 45 pound plates on each side of the bench. If you use kilograms, it's around 143 kilograms if you're looking for a different metric to measure by. And so I'd seen Joe in the gym quite frequently and we would chat, but one day Joe saw me doing my own bench press workout in the gym, and I was benching well over 315 pounds at that time. And he came up to me and he asked me, "Hey man, how are you doing this? How do you train? Any tips, anything you can help me with that's gonna help me get that 315 pound bench press would be amazing." I told him I would love to help out, and there's not really anything magic that I did. I just worked on my technique. I get a good rest and I recover properly. I have good nutrition, and I've been progressively overloading that specific movement for a long, long time, over years and years. And that's kind of what it takes to get really, really strong. He said that he was doing all of that. He said everything was perfect. So I said, you know what, let's get you into the gym. I'll take you through a session. Let's take a look at your technique, your lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see where we can make adjustments. And lo and behold, what we found was not surprising to me, but was surprising to him. There was a lot of things he could work on. So after reviewing his technique, after reviewing his training, after reviewing his lifestyle, his stress management, and his nutrition, this is exactly what I uncovered. So firstly, Joe's technique was definitely suboptimal. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in the world, but it definitely needed improvements. His lats weren't fully engaged in the bench press. His shoulders were rounding in near the bottom. He was bouncing the bar off his chest with every single rep. And he wasn't really breathing and bracing properly how I would like to see somebody doing a heavy bench press. So I told him, hey Joe, that's just not gonna do. But if you do wanna get better at bench press, you could go to my YouTube channel and watch the bench press 101 video where I show you exactly how to bench press properly with perfect technique.
Nailed it.
Moving on to his training plan, he was actually doing more of a bodybuilding style training plan with lots of pyramid sets. He was starting at 15, then going 12, 10, 8. And onwards. He was doing a couple sets of 5 near the end, but then he'd do some really high volume back down sets after he did his heavy 5s. So overall, he was just doing a ton of volume and not really something that's conducive to gaining strength. Although those types of sets can be good for hypertrophy or general fitness, it's not what we look for in a strength program. Strength programs are generally gonna be between the 1 to 5 rep range. And if we wanted to do more volume, I would just add more sets. So doing things like 6 sets of 8 or 8 sets of 3. Those do exist and people do those all the time, but most regular gym goers would never think to do a set like that because all they hear about is doing 10s and 15s and 8s. And they haven't really trained specifically for strength before. So he had never really thought of that. He also basically had no direct accessory work that was working on his specific weak points. So everybody, when I look at their squat, their deadlift, their bench press, whatever it might be, they have specific things where they'll stall out or they stop. For the deadlift, it's a lot of times they can't get it past the knees or they can't finish the lockout. For the bench press, they usually stop about 3 to 4 inches off the chest, or they can't finish the lockout, or they can't get it even off the chest. That being said, there's specific movements or accessory exercise we can do to help us break through those barriers and those plateaus. But once again, if you didn't really know that, you wouldn't probably be using those to your advantage. Okay, so clearly Joe had some issues. So what did I actually tell him to do in order to get stronger and actually get him the 350 bench press? AKA, what can you do to get yourself stronger and make sure that you're actually progressing in a way that's linear and not plateauing in the gym. So my first recommendation is to actually work on technique first, leave your ego at the door, and really build up a strong base of good movement before you start to load up on weight. You might be able to out-muscle bad technique in the beginning, but there will come a point for every single lifter where that's just not going to be the case. You're also putting yourself at risk for injuries, muscular imbalances, and most of the time when I see somebody lifting with poor technique in the gym, I will recommend that they lower the weight. When you're working on your technique, this is a point in time where you can do a higher volume workout plan. So you can be doing a lot of 10 to 15s, 8 to 10s, getting your volume up, getting the reps in to get better at the movement. But then when you're trying to get stronger, I would highly recommend going into the lower rep range, and you've already locked in that technique, and then you can go heavier without worrying about losing your position. If you're not sure where to start with your technique, I do have videos all across this YouTube channel that you can feel free to check out. I also do in-person coaching in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and I do coach people online from all around the world. So if you need assistance, check the YouTube channel out or click one of the links below and we can connect. Secondly, and I kind of just led into this a little bit, is your program actually has to be geared towards getting stronger and or gaining muscle. Both of these programs look slightly differently. I still think that if you're training for strength and you're new to the gym, you're gonna put on a ton of muscle, but this is where there's a little bit of nuance, because with hypertrophy training, you're usually looking between 6 and 15 repetitions per set. A lot of people doing between 2 and 4 sets of each exercise. For strength training, we're gonna be doing anywhere from 2 up to 6 or 8 sets, and anywhere from 1 to 5 repetitions. So it's a lot of smaller repetition sets. And if you wanna do more volume, we're actually just going to increase the number of sets that we're doing rather than doing a single set with many more reps. And for these programs, I recommend that 1 to 5 rep range for most of your compound heavy movements. For any sort of accessory movement or supplemental movements, you can use in the 6 to 10 rep range. And then on some of the more isolation-based movements, like bicep curls or tricep extensions, even leg curls or leg extensions, you could be doing anywhere between 10 to 20 repetitions on those specific exercises. And then the real root, or the real basis of all strength training and even hypertrophy training is progressive overload, meaning every single week, we're pushing ourselves a little bit harder, we're adding more weight onto the bar or onto the machine or the weight stack, whatever it might be, and we are moving ourselves forward. And this is also why I'm a fan of rep ranges. So not just saying, hey, just do 10 reps, but hey, do 6 to 10 reps. So the first week you can be doing closer to 10, then maybe you increase the weight, you're doing 8 the next week, then maybe you increase the weight and do 6 on the third week, right? And that way you're actually progressing forward, but most people don't see progress because they just say 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 every single week, and they don't actually bump the weight up. So if that sounds like you and you haven't been progressing the weights, just try lowering the reps and increasing the weight. You're still gonna get a good result that way, if not a better result than what you're getting right now. And once again, this does hinge on number 1. So if you're going up in weight, but you're losing your technique, which is also known as technical failure, keep a weight that you can actually do with good technique until you've mastered it, and then move on to something that is a little bit heavier. And thirdly here, and this is super, super important, is working on your recovery and your nutrition. And this also includes stress management. So sleep is very, very important for us to build muscle, to feel stronger, to have good energy going into the gym. If we're only running on 3 to 5 hours of sleep, we're not gonna feel very good going into the gym, and our body's ability to actually create force or to feel strong is gonna be much lower. Your risk for injury also is much higher on a low amount of sleep. So I highly recommend getting between 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep, especially on a day that you know you're gonna go hard and heavy. That should be the prerequisite for that day. Like I said, that's not gonna be everybody's same situation, but ideally that's the amount of sleep that you're looking for. In terms of nutrition, we do wanna be eating a high protein diet, balanced diet, lots of vegetables, fruits, grains, etc. And I do like to have a decent amount of carbohydrates in the diet as well, especially in and around the workout time. Carbohydrates are still going to be our main source of energy, and they're going to give us a little bit more oomph for the actual workout at hand. So if strength or muscle gain is your goal, definitely keep carbs in the diet and make sure you have some close to your workout time. That being said, I don't really think that it's best for you to be in an extreme bulk or an extreme deficit for either of these. I think people have this notion in their mind that, oh, I'm just gonna eat a bunch of food, I'm gonna do a dirty bulk, and I'm gonna get super, super strong. You're basically just gaining a bunch of excess body fat that's really not necessary. I would rather you either be eating at maintenance calories or slightly just above maintenance calories, which is a little bit more than you need to maintain your current body weight, or you could be in a slight deficit. And I think that all of those, I've had clients get really, really good results, get stronger, and it hasn't been a detriment to their performance too much. When you get into a steeper calorie deficit in your nutrition, you start to feel more lethargic, less energetic. You don't have as much punch when you get into the gym, and that can be really, really tough if you're trying to get stronger. So I lean towards having, neutral calories, being in kind of a maintenance phase or a slight caloric deficit. I wouldn't really lean towards, for most people, that is a very high caloric surplus because you're just going to put a bunch of unnecessary body fat on that you probably don't need. And then the last piece to that is just the actual stress load. So, if you have a girlfriend that's always yelling at you, or if your boss is a dickhead and you just have a constant stress load, I would look for areas that you can lower your actual stress, whether that's occupation, relationship, negative self-talk. That stuff is also going to add to your cortisol, which is our body's stress hormone. It's also called the ready state hormone, but it is the hormone that most people elevate too high and actually can be detrimental when it comes to strength gains and muscle gains. So stress, sleep, nutrition, all super, super important for you guys to be successful long-term in the gym. So next, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a bonus here. And this is something that I know gets talked about a lot, but actually most people that are new to the gym don't know about, which is called a deload, AKA a reload week. This is basically a week where we are allowing our body to fully recover from the strength training that we did the previous 4 or 5 weeks. And we're allowing ourselves to give our tendons a rest, give our ligaments a rest, let our body fully refuel so we can hit another week after that really, really hard. And we actually lower our risk for injury long-term significantly. Most people in the beginning don't actually need to worry about this too much, especially if you're missing whole weeks of training at a time. I have a lot of clients that travel for work and, maybe they missed 5 days because they were on flights and they couldn't get to the hotel gym, whatever it might be. But if you missed 5 days, you don't really need to do a deload. This is more for people that have been consistent. They've been pushing hard week after week after week for 4 or 5 weeks straight. And then they get to the point where their body's actually feeling it. You start to feel it in your joints, your muscles, a little bit of aches and pains. That's when you want to do a deload. And generally speaking, for me, I do them every 3 or 4 weeks. And for most clients, I recommend they do it every 4 to 5, depending on how heavy and how intensely they're exercising. A really easy way to think about how to do a deload is to, on that 4th or 5th week, cut your volume in half in terms of sets. So if I was doing basically 4 sets before, I'm only going to do 2 for my compounds. And I'm taking the 1 RM or the 1 rep maximum, and I'm doing about 50 to 55% of my 1 rep maximum. Where probably in the previous weeks I was doing closer to 87.5 to 95% of my 1 RM, depending on the program that you're following. So you're going to basically go from going really heavy to only half that amount and less volume. This style of workout will allow your body to fully recover while still keeping the technique and grooving the wheels, so to speak. For the accessory movements, you don't have to cut down quite so low. You can maybe shave off 1 set. So if you were doing 3, you could do 2. And I would lower my weight till about 60 to 70% of what I was doing the previous week. So that could be on things like the bicep curls or the tricep extensions. You don't have to go quite so low, but on the compounds, definitely cut it in half. For the accessories, down to 60 or 70%, and still less total volume than you were doing in the previous week. So generally, I recommend focus on technique during that week, focus on getting like a good pump. Sometimes I call them feel-good workouts. Just you want to leave the gym feeling good, feeling recovered. You can break a bit of a sweat, but don't go all out balls to the wall that week. So overall, pretty simple, guys, but even simple doesn't mean easy. So once again, just to review what we went over, work on your technique first, leave your ego at the door. Make sure your program is actually geared towards strength and or hypertrophy, whatever your goal might be. Make sure you're doing a program that is meant for that and that you're actually progressing yourself week over week. And thirdly, make sure that we're getting a better sleep, we're lowering our stress levels, and we're working on our nutrition. Lastly, if you've reached that point where you are feeling fatigued, a little bit beat up, and you just feel like you're not seeing progress, I would highly recommend throwing in a deload week and just seeing how you fare the following week. letting your body fully recover. Like I said before, if you just finished watching this entire video, you still have no flipping idea what I'm talking about, then please feel free to leave a comment. I answer every single comment. You can subscribe to the channel because we do release new videos every single month on topics just like this. And you can also find me at all the links down below, either my website, my Instagram, or any of my other links that I might have down there. I also have a Amazon storefront where I have some of my favorite products that you guys can check out. But just keep in mind that you guys are the reason that I'm making these videos. I'm here to help you, and I want you guys to be successful in the gym and on your strength journey. So please feel free to reach out, and I would love to connect. As always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, send this to your weak ass gym buddy that needs to get stronger, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.